the chair position until we elect a new chair. So the first order of business under I call the meeting to order at 9:41. And I would look for a nomination of a chair. Council Roll.
Good morning, and at this time, I would make a nomination for Jen Magnus.
Thank you. Ms. Magnus, do you accept the nomination?
I do.
Thank you. Second call, are there any other nominations for chair? And third and final call, any nominations for chair? Seeing none, congratulations, you are chair. If you'd like to. Going to go through. So first one is you can ask if there's any additions or deletions to the agenda.
Okay, so first thing is, are there any additions, deletions to the agenda? Seeing none. Motion
to accept the agenda.
Do we have a motion to accept the agenda? Okay, Paul. A second or all in favor? All in favor? Okay. And meetings of the previous meeting. Do we have someone to? Yeah, has everyone reviewed them? Yes.
Thank you. I have reviewed the minutes and I will give you a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you. All in favor? Okay, new business. We've appointed the chair. Okay, may we have Acting Staff Sergeant Clausen please speak for Diamond Valley?
Am I on? There we go. Good morning, Madam Chair, Council. An update on our staffing situation. We are currently fully staffed. As opposed to the last meeting, it appears that we had 8 vacancies, which included some of the supervisory and support staff. We've in the last quarter, we've had a newly assigned supervisor on the public servant side, and her name is Ashley Bernay, and she comes to us from Saskatchewan. She's got 15 years experience and she's fitting in quite well. And we also have a new supervisor, Corporal Yasser Mustafa, who just transferred in. He started last week, and he comes with 8 years experience, all of which were in Alberta. And we've got 2 EPO experienced police officers within the detachment. One I'm sure you're familiar with, Robert Anderson, but our latest member is Laz Horvath, and he comes from Calgary Police with 28 years experience. So he's got a wealth of skills and the knowledge that he can pass on to our members, and he's fitting in quite well. He's just finished his pros training, his database training, and he's out on the road now. So you'll see him out and about. We have one outgoing member, and our incoming replacement has already been identified, and he's going to be coming in from Stettler once our member transfers out. As well as we have one more support staff coming in. She should be starting, I believe, next month. I don't have a definite start date on that. As For some of our traffic, or from some of our stats, we've had 91 traffic contacts in the last quarter. One impaired, which I mean, it's low, but it's good to see. We had one traffic op, JFO. It was with the sheriffs and our municipal enforcement. We've had 76 MVCs, 5 of which were injured, no fatals. 7 abandoned vehicles. And persons crimes, we had 26 in the last quarter. 2 theft and suspicious vehicles, we had 16. Mental health investigations or calls, we had 3, and 8 well-being checks. For animal calls, we had 16, and we had 12 school visits, and a total of investigative files that came in at the detachment were 295. Overall, our stats, our crime stats have been on a decrease by 5% in the last quarter, which is really good. And as I've just been assigned as the detachment commander to the detachment, I've been here for going on 3 weeks now. I'm settling in, getting to know the run of the mill. I have had a couple of meetings already with some of our partners, one being probation services, and it appears that our probation checks have been lacking. So that is one that's near and dear to me, because that was a lot of my history in my previous postings. So we will be doing a lot of curfew checks and keeping them accountable. We also had actually credit to our new supervisor of our support staff. She implemented a new program with the Longview School, where she would go out in the evenings to do criminal record checks for the hockey teams, which was a really good turnout. It took up 12 separate evenings, and she did a total of 200 checks that she completed. So it was very well received. And I've also consulted with our traffic services and our reservist program to get additional members just to spend a day or a few hours within the Foothills to enforce some road safety. And that is my report for now. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. First, I'd like to welcome you to the Diamond Valley. I know the other detachment will miss you, but we're happy that you're able to continue in the area in Foothills County. And we look forward to your reports, and probably you'll be hearing a bit from all of us just in as you get your sea legs going there under the Diamond Valley detachment. So thank you for that. It's quite diverse, and I guess just that interaction is going to go really well since you have partners in the other detachments close by. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, hi, John. Welcome to Turner Valley Detachment. Or do you call it Diamond Valley
It's
now?
Diamond Valley, yes.
Yeah. Couple questions. One, the 15 suspicious vehicles. That sounds like a little higher number for me than historically from the Mounting Moment stats I've seen. And my question with that is, do you have any idea on the follow-up of those suspicious vehicles, what the results were? Like how many of them were sort of, I'll say critical?
In great detail, I can't answer
That's
that.
all right.
But a
Just
majority of them, it was attended, gone on arrival, or were unable to locate. Yeah, other than that, it's a lot of them were a non-incident matter. If you want greater details on that, I can actually look it up.
No, I don't
Get back
really
to you on
need the
that.
details. Just we, as a Crime Watch Association, tend to,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things we'll emphasize is suspicious vehicles or activity. So I'm just wondering if it's resulting in much. And then maybe I kind of missed it, but what's the purpose of all those criminal record checks? Is that like to be on the Crime Watch Association, or I was in Boy Scout leader and stuff like that? You
That's to,
get a criminal record check. Are these those kinds of things that people are coming to you for so they can do an activity, or are you doing it for some other purpose?
it's more for their, well, criminal record check is if you're working with youth or vulnerable persons, you need to have your criminal record check, just to ensure that there's nothing on there that's going to be conflicting, right? So that it allows you to work with youth and vulnerable people. Now, yes, technically, people come to the detachment and they get it done. But because Longview is kind of out of the way, I know Ashley brought this from her previous detachment, and she says it worked. It was really well received within the community. So if we can bring that service to them and even just build a relationship and a contact, and it was well received. So that's the reason for heading out there, just to have a community contact and helping them out as a hockey team. And it's as some of the feedback that we got was it actually helped them out by not having to find as many volunteers for the program. So it helped them out quite a bit, actually.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you so much and welcome
Thank you.
to your new position. Next up is Okotoks RCMP Staff Sergeant Zink.
Good day, everybody. Thank you for having us. Firstly, I may start by introducing one of our watch NCOs, Corporal Josh Scott, who is currently acting in Sergeant Klassen's absence as our operations NCO. So I'd like to first start by introducing Josh. Maybe I'll pass it to Josh real quickly before I get into my report, just to introduce himself and tell you a little bit about himself.
So I just want to get started here. I some very large shoes to fill with John's absence, figuratively and literally. I come with 10 years experience. I was in Fort McMurray for 6 years. Background for myself is I was in the alert teams for organized crime. So I was there for 2 years. So I have a background knowledge with very large complex investigations, which we call major case management. So I'm down here. I'm looking for some opportunity to advance, and Mike has been very generous to allow me to have that ability. So thank you for having me today.
Thank you, Josh. So Q3 for us has been as always, a common theme, very busy. Lots of interesting challenges, obviously, going through the winter holidays, Christmas and whatnot. We were very busy. Starting with resourcing, very happy to report that of our PPSA members were full. So we have full 8 funded positions, and so that's always nice to have. We do have a few vacancies on the municipal side, but those are incoming as well. So we consider those soft vacancies and not hard. So we're anticipating their arrival to fill our detachment up as much as possible. Currently with our public servants, we have 2 on staff, and those are both filled positions as well. In terms of call volume for Q3, we received 659 calls for service. So just for reference, 2025 to date, we received 2,500 calls for service in the Foothills County area of Okotoks. Of that, in terms of significant calls for service, our top 3 by count load were all property or motor vehicle collision related for the most part. We saw 118 property damage with respect to collisions, and 101 calls for service in the category of other moving traffic violations, and then 45 for other non-moving traffic violations. So in terms of our workload, again, our motor vehicle collisions and other moving traffic, bulked the majority of our work in the county. As such, in the spirit of always looking for new strategies to assist our detachment in meeting our contractual obligations with respect to policing priorities, our annual performance plan or APP, one of the things that we've been working on that has really filtered down to us from other detachments in the division or within the province is working with a third-party company called Accident Support Services. So we're looking at partnering with Accident Support Services to come into our detachment and help us manage or navigate collision-related accident calls for service. This will reduce greatly the front load workload in terms of hours. Having somebody, and I think I may have mentioned this in our last quarter report, we did have some early discussions. We're at the point now where we're looking at signing a contract with them for a period of 12 months. And what that would look like is they would come into our detachment, we'd supply them with some space, and they would really and truly help us navigate the front loading or information collection with respect to accidents that were non-serious in nature. Our police officers will still attend the scene in some cases, but there won't be that initial front-loading administrative burden on both our regular members and our support staff. So it'll just free them up to do other things at that time. We still will create our pros or police files for each collision, but they will definitely be beneficial to the front loading and the time and workload that's put into our collisions, as you can see, being the top three in both our types by count and as well workload analysis. So we're looking forward to that. If that does happen, which we're trending that way, we're looking at the spring to go live, and we're very excited for that. Simply put, that'll free up, like I said, time for our members to do some other proactive things, and as well with their investigations, assist with that. But as well, and more so, it's going to help free up some time for our support staff at the front counter. And we have some very unique and interesting strategies for that extra time. So more to follow on that regard. But yeah, very much looking forward to that in the next quarter to report on. But back to calls for service in terms of activities, of note, we had one charge in the county with assault with weapon, and then we had one criminal code dangerous driving charge. So again, working and doing our very best to get dangerous drivers off the road, which is always one of our top priorities in all three detachments. And as well, we were able to recover 3 stolen vehicles where there were criminal charges laid in those cases as well. With respect to our traffic violation tickets, we wrote 128 tickets with 28 warnings in our detachment area. We had 18 impaired drivers, which, as Sergeant Klassen has reported, is always nice, again, to catch those guys and get them off the road to ensure that we're safe in that regard. We conducted a number of traffic operations, again, Q3 being through the busy Christmas holiday months. We were really focused on some provincially led operations, again, working with our contract partners locally in those traffic ops. And if I recall correctly, it was very cold the nights that they ran those. So, but the members were committed to ensuring the roads were safe as could be. And so we had really good results in that area. Again, we had, I believe, 118 collisions, which we spoke about. We were very busy again in the county with community engagements. Always, I seem to report on the amount of work that we do at Spruce Meadows. Again, with the amount of public events out there, we were very, very busy out there and participating proactively. We had 19 mental health calls for that quarter, that number is always alarming when I check the stats for the county versus our municipality, so the town of Okotoks. There is actually quite the difference, which is understandable in terms of total call volume and population base, but those numbers are slightly increasing over time and are always becoming alarming, right? I think most attachments and police jurisdictions throughout the province see alarming increasing numbers in that regard. But we work very, very closely with our RPAC team, which we spoke about in the past, the regional police and crisis team, to ensure we're well supported, that our members, our frontline members are throughout the detachments are well supported to manage those in and post-crisis events. So in terms of person crimes, we responded to 13 person crimes throughout Q3, 45 property crimes, which I know in the county is always alarming, right? We're always alive to the need of our residents and working with our residents and our Rural Crime Watch teams to ensure that we're responding appropriately to those, of which 2 were break and enters. So I'm kind of happy to report as well that those numbers seem to be down just a little bit in the county. And we classify other criminal code, which is pretty much everything below those areas that we've discussed. We responded to 11 calls for service in that area. I spoke about our partnership with Accident Support Services that we're very much excited, looking forward to in the next quarter and hopefully the coming 12 months. A couple of other things that we've done here throughout Q3 that we're looking forward to in the coming months and quarters is that we've just recently stood up a traffic unit. So we have a dedicated constable in Okotoks Detachment, Constable Straw, who is our sole traffic member. Of course, our frontline members are still tasked with conducting traffic enforcement as part of their contractual obligations as well and job descriptions, but we now have a dedicated member. And that is a direct response from our commitment to ensure that we respond to the needs of our communities, both in the Foothills County and the municipality. Improving traffic road safety is always priority number 1 for the communities that I've been in charge of and worked with, and I've seen with other detachments. And this is one step to making sure we fulfill those obligations and improve that we've or demonstrate that we've heard and are responding to those needs from the residents. That position right now is primarily working within the municipality of Okotoks, but we are planning operations and for deployments outside into the county as well. We're really working proactively to, like I said, ensure road safety, but as well have somebody to respond to the demands as they come in. As you know, we often receive calls from you folks from this committee with respect to individual areas of concern or problems that you've received from residents. So we're really working towards better responding to those, and having this position in place will help us with that. I know Sergeant Klassen has talked a little bit about the reservist program. I believe I reported last that as well. We've really worked and leveraged our partnership with our reservist program, and we have one of who's a retired RCMP member of 25 years from a traffic unit in British Columbia, working with us as well to conduct traffic-related enforcement. So our numbers in that area have really trended upward throughout Q3, and we're anticipating great things in Q4 and to follow as well. So lastly, we've stood up an ops support NCO unit, so an operations support. So with John now being gone, I need 2 people to do that job. So we have 1 other plus Corporal Scott. But no, all joking aside, from a management level, trying to mitigate some of the risk in terms of management, with the growth of our detachment and our communities and the demands of our residents, there was a need to start to grow from a management perspective. So we've stood up and created an ops support position, which both that and our traffic unit stood up as of January 1. So we're very excited for those 2 things. And lastly, we've recently just identified one of our local members from general duty to represent us represent our detachment as a community communication member. So she won't be our media relations officer. We have somebody that does that divisionally out of Airdrie, but we really saw an opportunity for us to identify a member that was willing and had some expertise, which Constable Lindsay McMullen does, have some media training and background. So she's going to represent us to help us better tell our story from an organization standpoint, communicate both with our municipality and our Foothills County folks, partners and residents to let them know what we're up to, what we're doing. Again, tell our story, both from a response and a strategic proactive standpoint. So we're very much excited for those few initiatives that have gotten kicked off at the end of Q3. And I've talked enough, so I'll stop now. So if you have any questions, please feel free.
Any questions? Oh, yes, go ahead, Paul.
Yeah, just a couple quick questions, please. You mentioned 45 property crimes. Was that rural or combined rural and municipal? Just out of curiosity. Or do you have that?
That would be specific to just our rural municipality.
Okay, thanks.
Or not
The
municipality.
second question, sorry?
Sorry, I just wanted to correct myself. It wasn't municipality, sorry, it was just rural. only.
Okay, yeah. This collision reporting company, if we call it that, will they also deal with rural collisions, or is it strictly municipal?
They will. It's going to be the entire detachment
Yeah, okay.
jurisdiction. So
Great,
it'll cover
thank you.
municipal and rural.
Okay.
Oh, Suzanne, and then Dave.
Thank you. Just following up on that question, what was the name of the company that you said will be taking on that role, the contractor?
It's the Accident Support Services.
Okay. Thank you. And I was just wondering, as you were sharing the type of statistics and accidents that you are experiencing, and I guess it kind of goes across the board, do you separate out the MVCs that are on highways when you do the reporting? So there's a separate column, if you want to say, for provincial highways versus the roads within the county, just in terms of the statistical recording.
For our stats, we have what we call our UCR scoring in our PROS database, our police database. We have specific scoring that we use for just rural and for the municipal side of things. So when we do run stats, we're able to differentiate the two between the municipality and rural. So it does our scoring system for us.
So you can separate, like if the MVC is on Highway 2 as opposed to a side road within the county, that type of thing?
Not specific to the county. I mean, just to differentiate between the municipality and rural itself. So there's only two different scoring branches within the UCR scoring that allow.
So what would you say is the municipality then? Would you say that that's the town, or are you saying that Foothills
Yeah,
County is?
Yeah, so my apologies. So yeah, for
Okay.
the Okotoks municipality, there's a different scoring system that we use. So it would say for Okotoks municipal versus Okotoks rural, which captures anything
I
outside
see.
of our.
Okay. I'm just curious because of the ongoing efforts or recovery effort of the province for compensation from the counties as the initiative moves forward is how do we determine what the costs are to the rurals and be specific to those costs and like that it's actually happening in the county. And then as happens with regards to other emergency services, some of those are billable for the items that happen on provincial highways. So in terms of cost recovery from the province to the county, I'm just curious as to how you identify the MBCs and that I understand now you're saying there's really just one category. And I'll be hopefully just trying to understand that better, not here today, but just in terms of how that affects the cost for Foothills County. Thank you.
Problem.
Dave?
Yeah, you mentioned the two rural B&Es. And whether rightly or wrongly, that's one of the things that county residents are most concerned about. Do you have more color on what those B&Es entailed? Like, was there a bunch of stuff stolen? Can you talk about what kind of stuff and was there vandalism involved or what actually went on with those couple of B&Es?
Thank you for the question. Unfortunately, I don't have the specifics on those two individual break and enters, whether they were residential or other, but I can certainly find that out and come back.
Yeah, okay. And then just on a lighter note, congratulations on getting your picture on the cover of the Rolling Stone, or I mean the Western Wheel. Was that your dog or was that somebody else's dog?
Thank you for that. No, that was not my dog. no, but I did enjoy my time with the dog. My dog days are over, but no, I did enjoy that. It was a cold day, but yeah, thank you for bringing that up.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
I guess one question I would have, you mentioned 18 drunken driving offenses. Was that correct?
That's correct. So 18 impaired drivers where sanctions were laid. Again, thinking back, I know that number may seem pretty high, or maybe it does not for that particular month, but we ran a few different check stop operations or campaigns. We definitely went through our impaired driving campaign within the Q3, given the Christmas holidays. And so, yeah, we were able to identify a number of impaired drivers through different sanctions that resulted through sanctions, provincial sanctions. And I believe the one criminal charge of dangerous driving may have been related to impaired driving as well.
Wow. Thank you.
Thank you, Ted. Any other questions? I just actually have one about, I know the time commitment required for mental health calls. And so you said there's 19. Now, does PACT take over to form them at the hospital, or is the officer that takes them stuck there until they're seen by a doctor? Just wondering for the time commitment there.
Yeah, I think we have some challenges because obviously we have one designated team for that for various jurisdictions. So we generally try to triage like based off of like when we do have these individuals ourselves, we'll try our very best to provide that information. But we do have the PAC team that's going to do some follow up with these individuals as well, just to ensure that they have any resources that they may require following treatment.
Okay, but are you taking them to Calgary then to form them, or?
We are, yeah. So our local hospital, I mean, local, we'll say, is the South Health Campus in Calgary. So
Okay,
it's
yes. Yes, I recognize that is a challenge and obviously something that are you seeking to kind of alleviate? I know it falls on the healthcare system, but that is a lot of time.
Sorry, we're discussing who's going to reply to you. Sorry, my apologies. You know, the time at the hospital is a huge challenge, and it's I believe it's gotten better though over the years. I'm optimistic it's gotten better over the years. We've definitely have worked with our AHS partners. We've worked internally with respect to utilize. I think we've described in the past. We now our officers are trained and utilized an app on their phone called the Health IM app, which really helps not just triage what they're dealing with on scene, but as well helps determine where best to take the individual. And staff weave is absolutely correct. We're governed by policy to take the individual to a designated facility, and South Health is definitely that facility for us. There are times where we go to other facilities based on call logs and time delays. And if we're engaging with, and it's been my experience, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, but it's been my experience, if we're engaging at a call with responding to a call with AHS, so the paramedics, they're very helpful at guiding us towards the correct place to go to in terms of time delay. So the wait times definitely have come down. There's definitely a room for improvement. I'm going to remain optimistic that at some point we'll get there where our our law enforcement partners such as CPS seem to have a better system at processing their clients a lot quicker. We're getting there. We're not quite there. There's some room for work for sure, but it has been getting better in terms of delays for sure.
Well, thank you so much. No more questions? Okay, You are free to go. Or, thank you. Okay, next up is High River Staff Sergeant Weeb.
Good morning. And just to be clear on that, that's a one-off where we were waiting that long. And it's a factor of whether they have peace officers available and whether they have bed space available. So we might be waiting for a space or a secure space to bring our individual to. So it can take a little longer based on that. And I know we're working with AHS in our district always to see if we can limit that time, because a trip into Calgary for a Form 10 on a minimum, you're driving into Calgary, usually sitting for about an hour, and you're driving back. So you're looking at 2-3 hours out of your day when you form somebody. So it's a work in progress. So with regards to High River, the rural detachment, currently we have 2 of our 4 PPSA positions are occupied. We have an EPO that's coming. Don't have a date on that yet, but we have a gentleman coming from the Ontario Provincial Police, and he's just working through his security clearances, et cetera. And once he's done, we'll have him on the ground, and then we have to get him trained up on our reporting systems, et cetera. And we do have a body named for our 4th position. We expect to see boots on the ground in the summer. That individual will be coming from Grand Prairie as part of the transition. So with regards to our annual performance plan, it's not actually a rural property, but it's kind of a rural property. You might have noticed we're doing a lot of work just south of the traffic circle on 88th Street there. That's been a project. We've done a search warrant there recently, which resulted in multiple charges. We've recovered multiple stolen vehicles and items of property off that property. And we're currently just on a work just to clean that up in compliance. And again, it's in town, it's annexed by the town, but certainly everyone in the rural area sees it when they drive by. So it's been a work in progress, but we're working on that. We're doing all right with regards to violations and warnings as per our APP. We actually, since the last meeting, I ran the stats from our last meeting, which is November 24th. And so we have 17 violation tickets and 34 warnings we've issued. If I go back one more month, we almost double our numbers. So obviously the crew liked the warm weather better than the cold weather. For our time period, we had 188 occurrences that we investigated, which was down a little bit from our last meeting. So the time frame for our last meeting, just a little bit, not a lot. We had 45 collisions during that time that we attended. 4 of those were injuries, and we did have 1 fatal that was south of High River on Highway 2. We had 68 traffic-related occurrences. They charged 1 individual with impaired. A few thefts. We did have a problem with 1 property where we were seeing repeat offense where people were coming back. So we did a little bit of work with that property. And we also worked with our crime reduction unit out of Southern Alberta District in order to see if we could curb that issue. It's kind of mellowed itself out. We did recently have a file that relates to the rural area, not specific to ours, but we stopped a vehicle that was full of property related to CNRL. They had a bunch of junction boxes that had been stolen from CNRL to the tune of, I think, we thought it was about $30,000 or $40,000 worth of property in the car. So that was good to tie back to an actual offense. We had some abandoned vehicles, 13 suspicious people calls. I would reiterate what Sergeant Clausen said. Majority of our suspicious vehicles, we're either getting them as a time delay of a couple hours or more, or somebody will phone and say, hey, last night I saw this strange vehicle, and they won't get a plate, or it's a dark colored vehicle, and by the time we transit out there, it's usually not at the property anymore. So unless we're getting a license plate with that report, it's hard for us to track it down unless we stumble across it. So some animal calls and some well-being checks. Something other of note that High River Detachment, we're working with Rowan House and the UFC to do a pilot project that was done in Cochrane here last year. And so what we're going to be doing is taking a deep dive into family violence files. So we're going to review a couple of years worth of stats, and we're going to be looking at it through the lens of offenders. And is there commonalities amongst the offenders that brought them into a point where that they're getting involved in family violence? So we'll look at that. And what we'd like to see come from that is what kind of programming can we institute early on in life in order to curb those commonalities? And also, what can we offer offenders in regards to rehabilitation to try and curb offending again? So that project's kicking off here right away. We're just working through some of our information sharing policy. And once we have got that kind of sorted out, we'll start doing our review of the statistics. We got our calls for service report, which I forwarded to Peter. I just got it yesterday, so I haven't had a chance to digest it fully. But just to give you an indication, we had 1,506 calls for service last year in the rural area, and that's up by 29 calls from the year before, so pretty static. We have seen a very small creep every year of about 20, 30 calls. So that's kind of consistent. And so our top files, other moving, traffic violations, property damage, collisions, mental health, those are our top 3 by file type or workload. And then by count, we have traffic violations, again, motor vehicle collisions and traffic or speeding violations. So it's very consistent with what we see when we poll the community. Traffic is always a concern, and that's something that we always have to focus on. And obviously, it's not showing there as one of our top things, but certainly theft from rural properties is always a big. It only takes a couple thefts from rural property to because we don't have a lot of them for it to spike an interest within the community, and rightfully so. So that's something we're definitely alive to. That is all I have.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Thank you so much. You got off easy.
Thank you.
Okay, so Enforcement Services Manager Gareth Droles is not here. Anybody going to speak on his behalf? Okay, so with him being absent, we'll move on to the sheriffs who would like to speak.
This is on. You can hear me this time? Okay. I never know with this. Good morning, everyone. Happy New Year. Yeah, again, Jason Delaney. So I'll just try and give you a couple of updates for what's happening in our area. I don't have anything new on beyond what Chief Parhar shared at the last meeting for the new Alberta Sheriff Police Service. I know they're working on a lot of stuff in the background, obviously. I know there was some legislation stuff that was completed via Bill 4 just before Christmas. I think that was some background administrative stuff as far as it relates to member representation, people who move over to that agency. But beyond that, I really don't have a lot new as far as that goes. We're hoping to hear some news. I think he mentioned he's hoping to have some spots filled, things like that in the summer, I believe. So I imagine we'll get some more information as we get closer to spring. I can let you know that so just going back a bit for the past month or so, we did partner quite a bit throughout December, the check stop season, Christmas, with other agencies. Obviously, members mentioned partnering for check stops in the area. We did a lot of check stops with county members throughout Nanton, Claresholm, Longview, I think out by Vulcan, which isn't really this area, but so yeah, so members were focused a lot doing a lot of joint force operations. So what we refer to there for mainly targeting check stops or impaired driving, drug impaired driving, things like that. A big thing lately with the nice weather has been obviously just taking advantage of that and conducting a lot of CVSA checks or a lot of CVSA operations. I know Alderside's been open a lot since it's been nice and there's no snow on the ground. So members can get out there and they can get under trucks now before the snow flies again and it's not minus 30. So I know members are taking a big advantage of that because that's a rare thing in January. We do have some new classes that are in the process right now for sheriffs that are in class now who will be coming out in the spring, summer, fall. Some of these classes are specifically for highway patrol, so I'm encouraged about that. So we'll be getting some members down here for that. And then some of those other sheriff classes will go to fill spots in other directorates like courts or even the fugitive apprehension teams, the surveillance teams, the scan teams. Scan is the safer communities and neighborhoods team. They look after monitoring the most commonly things like drug houses, stuff like that. They work with other agencies and shutting those down. So that's where some of those bodies will be going as well. We are in the process of training or field training some members right now throughout the area in highway patrol. So that's good. So we'll have some more members there. I do know, or I've been told that there are some new canines coming out. I believe it was 4 from what I heard, 4 positions coming out within the month. So those will be deployed as part of the interdiction patrol teams. And if you recall, that was some of those members report to Sergeant Quintero, who was here at the last time. And while they're not assigned, obviously, to Foothills County, they work in larger areas. They often are in the area. So they'll be helping out there. I was just talking before the meeting to Staff Sergeant Zink about extending those services to other agencies. So if they're ever in need of that, so I'm going to send that information out to the detachment commanders in the area. I'm sure they have some policy and some processes they have to follow too, but I'd rather send out the invite or extend that invitation to them in case they need it, in case they can ever help. Our canines are primarily for contraband detection, so drugs, weapons, things of that nature. So that's their primary function. So I do know that the Highway Patrol interdiction teams are working with the scan units now. They often will work on some projects together up north. They've been very well up north. They had some great success up there with getting some. I know they recently had a prohibited pistol that they took out of a vehicle. There was 1 or 2 of those, and so they're doing that down here in the south as well. I know they had a call last week in Nanton, so that's, we're hoping to see some results from that as well. And I think the only other thing was I had mentioned in the last meeting was our body cam rollout was coming up, and now it's underway, and they're looking at having that completed by June for all of the branch. So I think for this area, I think we're looking about April. So that'll be nice to have. So up until this point, we've had mainly in-car video systems, which are effective, obviously, because the nature of the work we do, but sometimes obviously there's more to, the job than just being in front of your car. So the body cam rollout is a huge plus. So other than that, that's about it for updates. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer what I can.
Go ahead, Suzanne.
Thank you for your presentation and your update and bringing your team with you as
Yeah,
well.
of course.
I'm glad you guys were able to attend and all of you today. Just a question on the commercial aspect. You're saying January, it's kind of unusual to get the measurements in the roads being clear for a couple of weeks here. So what are you finding anything unusual for this time frame for the loads aspect?
I wouldn't say unusual. I think the only advantage, to the weather aspect is being able to do more full inspections, so level 1 inspections. Obviously, that includes being able to get under vehicles and really, inspect things like all the brakes and all that stuff that you can get on, say, a level 2, which is surrounding vehicle. So because we don't have any sheds in our offices, throughout for High River, there's obviously a shed in Airdrie, for example, where people can pull the trucks into the shed and then actually get under. And obviously, they're not out in the snow, and especially if there's a lot of snow on the ground. So that is a challenge we do have in this area. And obviously throughout the province, anywhere there's not a shed, anytime, it's winter, right? So, but I wouldn't say that they're finding anything that's unusual. I'd say we're just able to conduct more of the inspections, and we're always finding those unusual things. There's nothing that's incredibly of note. Not for this area, no jumping pound. They're out last week and there was a lot of out of service. They were taking a lot of vehicles off the road. We did have members up in Calgary last week as well from the area doing some, and there was a lot of out of service vehicles again. But that's not unusual. Out of service rates are typically on the higher end for these large scale checks. So I wouldn't say there's anything terribly unusual. It's just we're able to get more checks in. So that's good.
And I guess having the visibility for the officers this time of year is a surprise to that community as well. So
I know there were some comments about that because Alderside's not always open a lot in January, February because of the weather. At least not for level 1s for the full, full truck check. But yeah, there were some comments about that, about how, it's kind of surprising that everyone was out here. So that was good.
thank you.
Yeah.
And the last one's about the canine units. And I guess the question could go to the RCMP as well as yourselves is, are the dogs trained in one specific task, or do they have multiple tasks that they're trained in for the partnerships with the canine units?
It's funny. Mike and I were just talking about that before, actually. And obviously he's the expert and he knows more about them than I'll ever know. He's probably forgotten more than I'll ever know about dogs, but I know with ours, they're very task oriented. So they're trained for simply detecting contraband, and that's their training and that's our policy. So I just just talking with him before, there's obviously things like tracking and all those other tasks that the dogs can do, but ours don't do that. I know that the RCMP have a much broader canine program than we do. So, yeah.
Absolutely. In the RCPR dogs, we have two different types of dogs. So we have a dog that is trained just for contraband detection, right? So typically either just drug interdiction searching or explosive detail searching. So one or the other, never combined. But then our general duty dogs, as have been described, are highly trained in a variety of areas or profiles we refer to them as. First and foremost, it's always highly trained in agility and obedience, which is fundamental to the rest of the profile. So our bread and butter really truly is tracking and searching for human scent, right? So
Okay.
right? So lost individuals, criminal suspects, that's our bread and butter, really truly. And then after that, clearly they're trained in criminal apprehension or fighting and holding on under the direct control of the handler, right? Which is attached to a very big civil piece that we have to mitigate. But then as well, the dogs are highly trained in detection of, like I said, in the general duty world, either explosives or narcotics, never both at the same time. And then as well, evidence, weapons, whatever you want to call it, but it's really not the item the dogs near spear are searching for, it's the actual human scent that's attached to it.
Okay.
So they search for that as well. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for those.
And fire.
That's, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Ours is totally different because it's not human scent, it's more like gunpowder and residues of firearms.
Any other questions? Yes, go ahead, Dave.
I have a couple, and I'll do the dog question first since we're talking about that. And this is both for you and Sergeant Zink. How do you deploy these dogs? Like, for example, are they deployed proactively or are they just reactive where you think you might need them in a situation? Do they accompany check stops? Do you have a dog and his handler cruising the roads, and when you pull somebody over, the dog is also checking the car for drugs or weapons or explosives? Like how are the dogs actually deployed?
Right. Yeah, so I mean, I can obviously speak for the Sheriff Highway Patrol and the interdiction teams. So I'd say there's two primary functions from my understanding of it. The canine works with the interdiction patrol team, and the idea is that they work as a team and they go out and they do a combination of proactive checks. For example, it can be anything from commercial vehicle checks, or they can set up check stops, or they'll do roving interdiction work, and they'll bring the dog out. I know they'll even bring him out to some of our checks as well, and they'll put the dogs, say, in the back of or around trucks, semi-truck trailers, things like that. So there's that proactive piece there. There's also within the team, or they've also extended, obviously, that service to our units as well, the non-interdiction teams. So like on a call for service type system, right? So if we have a member who has reasonable suspicion that something may be in a vehicle or around a vehicle that we have stopped, we can call them. They will attend if everything works out, if they're nearby, things like that. And they'll deploy the dog in that scenario there. So I think it's a combination, right? They'll either answer these calls for service from us or other agencies, depending on their policies, and they also deploy them at checks or things like that. And I know they've been out at all sorts of different operations. So, yeah.
Okay, and then the second question, I'm still trying to get my head around the interaction between the RCMP and the sheriffs. I think I have the traffic portion down fairly well. As I understand it, you guys work fairly autonomously, especially for commercial vehicles on traffic stops and
Right.
investigations of commercial vehicles. Now, the part I'm still fuzzy on, there's probably lots of parts I'm fuzzy on because I don't even know what all the parts are, but when landowners or rural citizens have a concern, as I understand it, we're still supposed to call either 911 or the local police detachment. But then I wonder, when both of you, RCMP and the sheriff's department, talk about drug houses and stuff, how how do you determine which one of you or both of you, or how does it work between the handoff from one or the other? Do you go in together, or like, how do you manage? And I just use the drug houses as one example, but how does that interaction take place? How do you decide who does what?
Right. From my knowledge of it and what I understand of it, for example, just to address the scan unit or the drug house part, there's a lot of that is public generated, from my understanding. So there's an intake service within our branch, and they take calls for concern from the public, and the scan units have an MOU, a memorandum of understanding with all the police services in the province, and they'll work with the local POJ, so the police of jurisdiction, um, to conduct these investigations. My understanding is none of them are done independently. Now, I know that the scan units conduct the investigation and they'll do their part. Some of that is under, I believe it's civil litigation or civil legislation. So they do that portion, and then they will work with the local police service to affect any sort of house closures, things like that. So my understanding is it's a team approach, or it's a joint approach, I should say, to actually conducting those operations. Like in the end, like to actually execute those shutdowns. So none, like they're not operating independently or on their own to conduct those. A lot of the investigation work is on their own. That way they're not taking up local police resources. But the final stages, my understanding is they work with the police of jurisdiction to shut them down. As far as it works with us, you're right. The calls for service or concerns like that always go to the police of jurisdiction. That's where people should be going. They have those processes in place to take those calls and deal with that stuff as it comes up, especially if there's an emergent need. Members of the public do contact us about commercial vehicle stuff directly. They will do that. Some of them just know the information, they know who to get a hold of, and they do that. We always encourage people to let the police of jurisdiction, really, it should be them. They should be the first line that people go through. They'll often refer, if it's commercial vehicle stuff, to us as well. So I think there's a bit of a joint process there. Yeah, you mentioned obviously we do work in conjunction together for things like operation, things like check stops. We try to combine forces, because you just get it's just there's better public visibility. There's lots of bonuses to working with other agencies and having that manpower to conduct things like check stops or those operations together with more members. So we try and work with them when we can. We try not to overburden other agencies as well, because that's otherwise, we're sort of taking away why we're here. I don't know if that answered every part of it. And I know there can be parts of it that can be, or can seem gray, I guess, at times, with the two agencies operating. We try to operate independently, and obviously there are times when we have to lean on the RCMP for certain things that we don't have resources for, without trying to burden them with other things too, right?
So kind of a follow-up question then. If I call 911 and I get whatever the person on the other end is called, and they'll direct it to, fire, ambulance, police, or whatever. So two questions following that. Will the 911 operator ever go directly to the sheriff's department? Or do they always go to the police and then to the RCMP? And then if the RCMP deem it necessary for whatever reason, and there could be a bunch of different ones, then contact the sheriff department for assistance? Is that kind of how it works?
You're right. So it always goes to the police of jurisdiction. It won't come to us. There has been times in the past when sheriffs would take a call directly as it was dispatched from the RCMP. That's back when we were integrated with the RCMP 2010 to 2020. Whenever we were in units with them, say on the freeway. So between Airdrie and Leduc, the freeway would take, traffic would take calls for service on the highway, anything from dangerous driving to collisions. And those calls would go to the RCMP dispatch center, if that was the area, obviously. And then it would get dispatched to like an integrated traffic member. So that could have been a sheriff, or it could have been an RCMP at the time. That model has changed, obviously. So now it just goes to police of jurisdiction. The RCMP, to my knowledge, can initiate a rapid call. And this has been around for a few years, and then they will put a call out to our call center and say, hey, there's a priority call for whatever it is, and we know there's if there's any sheriffs nearby, can they assist? The RCMP can also initiate that rapid call. Members can initiate a rapid call through their dispatch center and ask for assistance, and then it gets dispatched to us if we're nearby. Obviously, our dispatch center knows where all our members are because they can see on their computers where we are, and they can dispatch people who are nearby. So
Okay.
there are two methods for that.
Okay, that helps. I'll figure it
Yeah.
out someday.
Okay. Yeah, I know. Yeah. We're both. Yes, it is. Yeah, and I know there's a lots of I know some of this stuff is likely being talked about in the background, I'm sure. I'm not privy to that. Obviously, our focus is just day-to-day operations, right? So, but yeah, I know that stuff's being talked about, just don't know the details.
Any other questions? No? Thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope I
Dr.
helped.
Delaney.
Thank you.
And are we going to go with enforcement services?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So unfortunately, Manager Joels could not be here, but I could give you a very quick update. I know our officers were busy with the sheriffs and other peace officers, and I believe possibly some RCMP before Christmas with the joint force operations. They did some rotations through the county as well as other municipalities that were partnered nearby to help present a strong presence. We do have Manager Joels has accepted the position, so he's currently the manager of enforcement services now. And Officer Bridges, our senior community peace officer. As such, we have one community peace officer posting that is out right now, and we're hoping to have that filled soon. Otherwise, they'll be bringing the annual report for 2025 at the next committee meeting.
Thank you. Any questions? No? I will just add that I went on a ride along with Manager Joels on last Tuesday. It was very eye-opening, the vast area that they cover. I had no idea that it was that large. So it's a lot for two, now soon to be three people to cover. So very interesting indeed. A lot of community involvement, talking to people and that. So that was a great experience. Okay, moving on, Rural Crime Watch. Paul, did you want to go with Okotoks?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a couple of things that I want to bring up. Number one, and I address this to, I guess I should say our sister rural crime watches. I'm currently working with the president of the Alberta Rural Crime Watch Association. We had a request from a group of rural residents in the Davisburg area, which is part of the Okotoks Rural Crime Watch. They're looking for a presentation regarding what Rural Crime Watch is, all the way through to property protection and security, through to security, I guess, of rural properties. So I'm working on a presentation because nobody seems to have one. So this will be, once it's finished, I will make it available to our sister Crime Watch organizations. It'll be, I presume it's going to be a PowerPoint kind of thing that I'll develop. Rosemary, the president, is looking through her vast library of resources, and she's going to send me a whole bunch of information so that I can put this together. Once that is put together and presented, presumably it will be successful. I will make sure that it's available to everyone else, including law enforcement, should they ever have the need for a Rural Crime Watch type of presentation. Part of what they are looking for is will include crime statistics in this area. So to that end, Constable Russell Jensen from Okotoks RCMP has agreed to be part of that, and he will attend with me when we make this presentation. So anyway, that's just sort of a heads up that that's coming. The second point I wanted to make was my go-to person for cybersecurity sent me some information just this past week regarding Instagram. And I put this out now so that everyone is aware of it, including law enforcement, should you ever be asked about this. And what she said was that Instagram appears to have experienced a security breach. So I'll just read briefly what I sent out to our Rural Crime Watch members so that everyone's aware of it. She says, if you get, she says, if you get notified of a password reset or a request to reset your password, and then in bolds, do not respond to or engage with the message at all. So that's consistent with cybersecurity thoughts, that you never ever click on a link that's in an email message. She says 17.5 million Instagram accounts, including usernames, physical addresses, phone numbers, and email addresses, are at risk. So just a reminder, if you get any correspondence claiming to be from Instagram, be very skeptical and do not engage with any links, attachments, or QR codes in those emails. If you want to reset your password, which would be a good idea, you log into the platform directly, never through a link, and then change your password that way. So as I say, I'm just throwing that out for everyone's information. She says, share that with everybody you know, family, friends, and the general rule, never ever click on suspicious emails that have a link. Other than that, that's all I have to say. Thanks.
Thank you. Any questions for Paul? Oh, yes, go ahead, Dave.
Just one, Paul, when you're putting that PowerPoint presentation together, if you need some assistance with it or want some to run it by me a little bit before you send it out to everybody, I'd be happy to look at it.
Okay, great. Thanks.
Thank you. And yes, Dave, you're next.
For the High Country Rural Crime Watch Association, we have a executive meeting here, board meeting on January 22nd, so coming up in a couple of days. This will be our normal annual board meeting. Then we have our March 9th AGM meeting, and I haven't had a chance to talk to Suzanne about this yet, but we usually have that at the Curtis community hall, but this year it's going to be at Pritis Greens. And then one of the speakers there, in addition to Staff Sergeant Klassen, is going to be a cybersecurity specialist by the name of Patricia Arith. I don't know if that's any relation, Paul.
Daughter.
Oh, is that right? She's got quite a interesting background. Spent 10 years with the Calgary Police, and then has had quite a bit of international training in the US with the FBI, other agencies across Canada, and also US Secret Service, Department of Homeland Security. Paul, you probably know this better than I do, Manchester Police and Interpol. And then in 2022, she left the police to pursue a career in cybersecurity. So is that who you're referring to when you say you're a cybersecurity specialist?
She's my go-to person.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway, she's going to be one of our guest speakers. So we're looking forward to that. And then the other thing is I did author 2 more articles for the High Country News under the banner of our High Country Rural Crime Watch Association column in the High Country News. And one was on copper theft and the increases in copper theft, mostly due to the increases in copper prices. A lot of metal prices are increasing and people are taking the easy targets. Ironically, a lot of the renewable generation makes a nice targets because there's nobody there most of the time. And then the one that hasn't come out yet, but which will on February 1st, is the importance of actually using your garage to park your car. I couldn't find a lot of recent data on it, but it is a very significant decrease in the possibility of your car being stolen or broken into if you park your car in the garage, and especially if you lock the garage and you lock the car. But the increase I did find was based on a 1996 British study, and I looked at so many stats. Don't quote me on this. You'll have to read the article, but it was something like 40 to 50 times safer to park your car in the garage than to leave it on the street or just out in the open if you're on an acreage. So that's High Country.
Thank you. Any questions for Dave? No. Ted?
Well, for us, our annual AGM is coming up on March the 7th at the IOF Hall here in OOF Hall here in High River at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And I first have to say that as our crime watch to Staff Sergeant Greg Weeb, Constable Devin Sokolowski is just fantastic. We are so pleased to have him sit with us on meetings quarterly and does a great job. Just thank you to have him with us. We do appreciate it. So from so as of the 7th, we'll have our meeting. We haven't set up our speakers yet. It's my fault. But the other part of it is that I do invite RCMP members, sheriff members, anyone who would be prepared to meet and be there just to show visibility to our rural residents. Also, I would invite you to travel around our area as much as you can, any one of them, just to show your visibility and deter anybody that's thinking about doing anything. It's better than a baseball bat, of which we carry at home. But anyway, I invite each one of you to be part of our meeting on the 7th. It won't be Tim Hortons coffee at Tim Hortons, but it will be there. So go on out. That's all we've got for now. Thanks, Jen.
Thank you. Any questions for Ted? No? Okay, moving along to the PRC update, Director Stapley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As with all the other committee meetings recently, we did receive another Police Review Commission update. The update provides their current status report and shows that they have a number of ongoing recruitments and a number of starting positions. I expect to see a few more of these updates coming in the near future, and we'll continue to share them.
Any questions? Okay, do I have a motion to move on to the confidential or we don't have anything to discuss in the session? Okay, so we'll skip that. Round table, anything you'd like to add, discuss? No? Oh, go ahead, Suzanne.
Sure, thank you. Deputy Director Stapley may want to add to this, but just to let you know that Foothills County is looking at right now the formula for us coming into an increase in payment for policing services. And that has been kind of cryptic. It was promised to us before the new year, but we just have a general statement of where that's going. And in that is included some aspects that we're not really certain about at this point. So we're trying to decode what these are, and that is the service calls, the assessment. So that'd be the overall value of properties, and then whatever else the province has lumped into it. So it's a framework that all rural municipalities have to pay into, and it includes so I guess it will include some details that we have to figure out how that will be supplied by our policing agencies, and then how we will work on figuring out the math for our ongoing increase in our price tag, as we're going to be going up from our current levels to what they say is a total of 30% payment for overall services, but we're not totally sure of that. So we're in a flux position where we're trying to understand how this all works. So we'll be looking forward to working with our partners to try to understand where your numbers come from and how we then will be compensating for those. Just a quick update there.
Thank you. Any other comments? Go ahead, Dave.
Just to follow up on a previous item, it was noted in the minutes too, is for our next meeting, it looks like, which is scheduled for March 17th. That's St. Patrick's Day, isn't it? We talked about having an update from Chief Parhar of the Sheriff's Department, and I wonder if we should invite him again for an update for that meeting.
Do it to April? Okay, how about, yeah, maybe closer to April? Would you like to make a motion for that, Dave, to have him invited?
Sure, I make a motion that we invite Chief Parhar to give us an updated presentation at our next policing committee meeting
For April?
for April, yes.
And do we have a all in favor or take a vote? We need some. Oh, all in favor of this? Yeah. Okay, any opposed? No, I guess we do oppose first, right? After, okay. We're all good? Okay. Oh, yes, go ahead, Suzanne.
Sure. As we just mentioned, thank you for mentioning the date. March 17th is the RMA, where most of our counselors will be away for that meeting. So I'm just wondering if we might want to choose a different date for that meeting. It's March 17th, so just take that under advisement for consideration.
If I may, Madam Chair. Would the week before or the week after work?
And which day were you going to choose again? A Tuesday?
Yes.
Okay. The week after, the 24th, would?
All right. We can look at that.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead. Is that something that would work for you as well?
if I may, through the chair to the floor. The week before would be March 10th. And that morning, the council chambers is in use. And the week after would be March 24th. And as of right now, the council chamber is in use as well.
But what about the Monday? Wouldn't you be okay with that?
On March 23rd. It looks like the council chambers, let's see here. Nope, is booked. That's a High River Council meeting. Monday, March 9th. And it's booked as well.
30 and 31st?
Okay,
If I may.
Monday,
Maybe that's not going to
March
work. Peter,
30th.
Ryan.
If I may,
Is
we
available.
can take a look at what rooms are available and we can send an email out. We can figure it out.
Thank you. And sorry for the trouble. It just, we have a big conference then, so. And then one last thing, since we're in the invitation mode, I wonder at some point, would it be the committee be amenable to inviting our 911 executive director to provide an update on how 911 works and the services? And so we serve quite a few communities, 25 in Southern Alberta. So there's a really interesting update, perhaps a short update with question and answer similar to our other experts here. So would that be something that the committee would be willing to have come to join us for one? It doesn't have to be the same one as the sheriff's. It could be a further one a couple of months in down the road.
Yeah.
So I will make that a motion
Yeah.
if members are okay with that.
All in favor? That motion, yes? Yes.
Thank you.
So will you invite or are we going to look at?
Well, I think it has to go through deputy director
Okay.
officially,
what you'll do?
but he knows the route.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're gonna, any other questions, discussion before we? Okay, so we'll look at the next meeting and find out by email when that might be. Do I have a motion for adjournment? What, Ted, did you put your hand up? You did, Ted, all in favor? Thank you, and thank you everyone for attending today.